Hello out there, and welcome to the No Shit Cast. I'm your host, Matt Frazier. Woo! Crazy good show. Big show tonight. Sitting in the hot seat with me, the co-pilot chair, if you will, the great wizard of historical knowledge himself, Mr. Eric Smith. How you doing, Eric?
A little disconfraggy. I'm doing fine.
Yeah. He literally just like walked in the door, jumps in the hot seat, and we get rolling. So, let's get straight to it. Great big show tonight. Amazing guest. This is, I think, your second appearance here. This is Cat Hall, who has just released a new album. It's out on Bandcamp, available now. It'll be out. I think it's releasing probably the day after we record this, but these will probably come out pretty much the same time. But I've listened to this, every track on it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And so she's joining us on the line here tonight to talk about this album and to talk about the inspiration behind it and everything. So privileged to have you back. And how you doing tonight?
Oh, thanks very much. I am doing well. I think it was well over a year ago when I talked to you guys the last time about my frustrations and trying to get this album out, just because everybody that I have been working with has so much on their plate. And, you know, I think that's just basically due to the fact that they're just such amazing artists that they've got a lot going on. And so we finally got together. I finally flew up to Chicago to finish the recording process. We had all of the vocals already recorded, but basically had to work with Jim on finishing the last 3 tracks, really. We started out with only 4, and we wound up having 6 tracks on the album. So there were 3 additional tracks that we added, I think after I had spoken with you.
Was one of them Drive?
But regardless.
Was one of them Drive?
One of them is Drive,
Yeah,
yes.
I thought so.
I worked on that with Chrys Anthem Wozniak as the co-writer for that one. And we also did a video for it.
Wow.
Which is on YouTube. And it was my first video ever. And so it was pretty fun. You know, I never really thought that I could set up my own home studio and record video, but I did. And then I sent my footage to Chrys, who actually does a lot of video editing and has done videos for some incredible artists. I think he was telling me he had worked with some of the Wax Trax people back in the day.
Very
and
nice.
Had produced some videos for them. So it was a good privilege to work with him musically and as a video editor. So you know, we did that, and then working with Jim, the tracks that we finished were, I guess, Murder of Love still had some work to be done on it, and Poison Kiss had some work to be done on it, that was actually a new track that I did with Kurt Larson and John von Herrmann, and we just kind of came up with that on the fly and decided to put it on the album at the last minute. We also did some additional production work on Taste, but Taste was actually the first song on the album that I had written. That one was finished back in 2015, and so you can see how long the process has taken.
Wow.
For us to get everything in line. But the amazing thing is that all of the tracks seem to fit together really nicely. It's very cohesive.
Yeah.
It sounds exactly the way I intended it to. Jim Marcus had really, you know, a keen ear for the production that I wanted. He basically brought that kind of 1990s era industrial edge to it that I really wanted to hear, that kind of brings it to the dance floor. And you know, it's a nod to the classics. We have a kind of a sample in there from Kraftwerk. We've got, Kurt Larson, who was, an amazing voice of the 80s and 90s with Information Society, and still, even now.
Yeah.
So it kind of was a dream cast of people to work with on the album. And, there's Junior Kain, who does a lot of remixes for Information Society, and others also who co-wrote Break Myself with me. And that's kind of that starts out the album. It's a little bit of a different style, a little bit more aggressive, but it was a lot of fun. We've got...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry?
I was just going to
say that...
The joys of working through the internet, folks, is the delay. So anyway, I was going to say on that track, Remarkable, Break Myself was something that took me to a place emotionally, man, because it has this amazing sort of carnival edge. It's got to be listened to, obviously, but it was really amazing how you incorporated that sort of vibe into this really edgy track. But to me, that was the word that jumps out, is something like carnival.
Yeah, it was a track that was written long distance, obviously. Junior Kain is in South America. He's in Brazil. And so we had done a fair amount of video conferencing back and forth and discussing kind of what we were looking to record. And it just kind of happened. It was, I think, one of the first tracks. He's done a lot of remixes, but from my understanding, it was one of the first tracks that he had actually co-written. And so it was a learning experience for both of us, and, really positive. Just very talented guy, and he actually just had a new baby not too long ago, so I don't know if he's going to have time to be working on any more music soon. But yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Break Myself. I think my favorite part of that is just the screaming, the yell.
yeah, and I heard that isolated on SoundCloud.
Yes, I put that little snippet up on SoundCloud because somebody told me that they were like, you really should do more, yelling in the tracks. You've got a good yelling voice.
Yeah.
And so, I put that up there just for them.
Cool.
So you let me know if you want. We can pull this up here real quick and give everybody a taste of these as we kind of go through these tracks.
Sure, absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm going to cue. I love this track. I was jamming to this while we were waiting for Eric to show up tonight, who got wrapped up with his job. But check this. I love this. This is awesome. That is so freaking groovy. I love the beat in that.
I love the lyrics.
Yeah, it's a pretty angsty song. I have a gift for writing about relationship angst.
I got it.
And I just kind of tune into that every time I feel like writing a song. I was talking to somebody recently about, they're saying, all of your lyrics are kind of unhappy, and, you're in a happy marriage. What's your problem? And I just told him, I said, it's not having anything to do with my marriage or my relationship. What I like to do when I write is, if I'm in a mood and I want to write, to express, whatever angst. Sometimes I just dial back to a time in my life where I was unhappy or I was having, relationship issues, and I just kind of revisit that emotion and use that to kind of tool some lyrics. It seems to work out pretty well.
That is really great that you can do that. That really shows that you've got a bit of control over that sort of thing. And like for me, I would never be able to do that. I either am feeling something or I'm not. I can't escape that moment. And it's really cool that you can bring that forth in you with a little bit of meditation or whatever to sit down and start writing lyrics.
Yeah, I just tell people that, when I'm happy, I like to focus on being happy and being in that emotion. But I don't really choose to write when I'm feeling happy. And so the last couple of years have been pretty rough for me. A lot of issues with both of my parents dying. And so, there was a lot of moodiness. There was a lot of just grief. And so, the music is really what has gotten me through the last couple of years, I would say, especially the last 2 years.
Well, you had a deep well there to pull from emotionally then and this must be really cathartic in a way for you, finishing this album up and closing this up, huh?
It really is. It's really a sense of gratitude and a sense of release since, I've been kind of, it's just been festering at the back of my mind since I started work on it. And even though I've released 2 other records in the meantime, I released Void in 2017 with Justin Burning, and then I did a single release with Paul Robb, Jack Alberson, and Federico Balducci. We released Sycamores as a single on Hack Attack. So even though I've been productive, this one has always been hanging over me because I started in 2015 with the intent to finish this album, and it's finally done in 2019. So early 2019, but 2019.
Well, that's true.
But everything happens in its season, I figure. So this is the season for Ascent.
Yes. A lot of things coincided, it seemed like, in your life, too. Like, it all focused into these endeavors and these experiences. And, it seems like there's a finality to everything and there's a new cycle starting, perhaps.
Well, I found that this is something that, I don't know, Kat, you tell me what you think, but the album as a whole feels very book-like, but each track is very much like a chapter, in the sense that it's almost like a book of short stories, but you can definitely tell that it's the same author all the way through, and it becomes very episodic that way. And you were sort of able to really tap into those emotions that way, and I feel that throughout the track that there's a multiple personality thing going on here, but you can definitely tell that that this is the same person, but these are just different colors of the same artist.
They are unlike any songs that I've heard from you before. So
yeah, they have a little bit more dance floor energy. Even Break Myself has a lot heavier beat.
Yeah.
Our first album was produced by Paul Robb, so it had a little bit of that Information Society flavor to it. But this one really kind of is it's a nod to the classics. That's what I told Jim. I said, I really, I want to get back to my roots. I want to get back to music that I love. And one of the main things that got me into wanting to write music in the first place was having songs that are danceable, but you could sing to them. They had lyrics that you could actually sing to, when you went out to a club and your favorite came on and it actually had words and you could sing to it. Everybody likes the industrial stuff and everybody likes, the instrumental stuff. But to me, at least for me personally, singing just brought a whole new level of joy to going out and clubbing. And, I'd just sing along with whatever they were playing, and plenty of visits to the DJ booth. it was just that was where I was centered when I was talking to Jim about the production for the record. I really wanted something that, you know, felt like a party. And although Break Myself doesn't really feel like a party. The one track that Jim had mostly written the music for before I came up and started working with him was Starstuff. And it's the last track on the EP. But essentially, you know, he had some music, and he was also noting, he says, you know, Kat, you know, most of your lyrics are a little bit on the dark side. Let's write something positive and uplifting to, you know, bookend it with. And so we did Starstuff, and it's just lyrically, I really like what I came up with. You know, he said he wanted to write something kind of Carl Sagan about how, you know, we're all made out of star stuff, and we're all made out of the same elements, and even when we die, we don't really go away. We're still here, so we're never going to die. You know, the stuff that we're made of goes on forever. And you know, it also was hitting me pretty hard in the feels because of my parents. And it was a song of hope, kind of to bookend the album.
Yeah, there's no doubt I've said it publicly. I guess that's certainly my favorite track on the album, and it was, to your point, it was remarkable to me that you had written this after having listened to your previous catalog and those kinds of things, right? And I mean, first time Eric played it for me, he'll tell you, I had the headphones on and I'm jumping up and down like losing my shit. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And it, I don't know if it was because I'd listened to a lot of your previous stuff, but man, you hit this one right down the middle. It was so perfect, and very moving and a very positive song, but it does make you want to get up and move around too. It's very inspirational.
Wait till you hear the Go Fight remix. The Go Fight remix is fantastic. Jim did a remix that's going to be released with the single when it comes out, and it just kicks ass. It's
cool.
Awesome. Man, I can't wait.
Awesome.
I can't wait.
Lots of disco samples.
Cool.
Well, why don't we do that? Why don't we let people take listen to this here real quick.
Sure.
Yeah, I can't. You have to move as soon as that comes on. The drop. I mean, everything is just it's so perfect ear candy. It's what I described it as.
It's a toe tapper.
Oh, I mean, wow, what a great. I mean, and that's the thing though, Kat. There's nothing on this album though that does not have that complete feel to it. This is all completely baked. This is all just. You can just tell that there was a lot of love and a lot of attention by everyone involved that went into producing these tracks.
Yeah, and you know, Jim brought in a bunch of really great guys. Vince McAley and Dan Evans are both featured on it. Dan's playing some guitar on Break Myself, and Vince, we used a lot of Vince's drum loops and that he had recorded. So you know, just some real high power talent went into this, and you know, you look at the stuff that they're recording now. Both of them are in Muette that Steven Siebold just released, and it's fantastic. I just look at their work, and I am so honored that they're doing work with me too. So pretty exciting.
It's like Fantasy Bandcamp, but it's like legit. It's for real. There's an album.
It really is. It really is. And, so frequently, I kind of bemoan my situation because I sit around and I say, I don't have a band. I can't play live right now just because I haven't gotten around to putting a band together here in Texas where I'm at. Everybody that I'm working with is around the globe. Yeah. But then I sit back and I say to myself, look at who you're working with. That's pretty awesome. It's pretty high caliber. And so I am just honored to be able to be in the studio and to be, in the same ballpark with these people. So it's pretty exciting.
It is kind of nuts now how easy it is to collaborate. And it does make for a really amazing sort of thing now that people from around, like you said, around the globe can just collaborate on stuff and put, music together that is just crazy good. It's
yeah.
But it's a blessing and a curse, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so much fun, and it's so easy to to tweak things too, because I mean you don't even really make a phone call. I mean they're right there. It's just as fast. It's even faster. Just say, make a little tweak to this, do something to that, and actually with Poison Kiss, Kurt and I had been texting back and forth for a little while, and we just kind of had been talking about doing a song together for years, because I've always been an Information Society fan, and got to sing with them a couple of times live when they'd come to Texas. But we always thought we would sound pretty good together, and so we were kind of playing around with some lyrics, just kind of bouncing some lines back and forth. And that's how Poison Kiss came about. And we just kind of wrote this song and, via text message, and decided to put it together. So, we decided he would do the verses and I would do the bridges and sing with him on the choruses. And we put it together, and, it sounds great.
Yeah,
it sounds great.
Genesis of a song by text.
I was going to say that. Yeah, it's like crazy now, right?
And then it manifests into the world.
And that track has a really fun feel to it too, with the way it kind of comes off. It's very what's the word I would look for? Sassy, almost like anyway,
like tongue in cheek.
Yeah, it's Poison Kiss, but
yeah.
All right, well let's check this out then. We'll cue this up here and take a listen to this.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I don't want to keep playing here, but that's what I meant. It has like a playful feel to it with the juxtaposition between the chorus and the. But you could. That's definitely Kurt Larson. I mean, it's like right in your face.
And lyrically, with the acceptance that through the lyrics that you listen to, that this is a willing damnation. I guess if I find something whimsical about it, it's that it seems that both parties are aware of the situation, and there you go. We're going to do it anyway.
No, I was only in the feel of it, not necessarily specifically what the lyrics were saying, but I get your point.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, that's where I interpret like the sassiness kind of thing, like it's the willingness, knowing, what's going on, but being willing to say, okay, I accept that this is a situation because, this is great.
Here we go, Kat. We're going to interpret your songs for you. So whatever you had in mind, just toss that out,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that was a cool collaboration there working with Kurt, yeah?
Oh, it was a lot of fun. And I'm hoping that, we might do some more stuff in the future. He's a great friend of mine, and so we talk frequently, and I can see more collaborations coming forth in the future. Cool. If he's willing. We're actually going to be doing a video for Poison Kiss. Oh, so cool. He has agreed to do some footage for me, and Zeke, who's also in Information Society, is going to put together that video for us. So it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of fun. There's also going to be several remixes of Poison Kiss that are going to be released, I think, in June. So some of them sound nothing at all like the original and are just, I can tell the remixers are having a lot of fun with it. So it's a wild ride. It's a wild ride.
It's kind of interesting because you're taking the same source material, though, and getting kind of more mileage out of it, given the way that different artists now can kind of take that. In some ways, you just become the paint and the canvas with some of these folks, right? Absolutely.
And that's one of the most exciting things about remixes for me is that, I have no idea what's going to come out of it. It used to be that remixes, they sounded pretty much just like another version of the same song.
Right.
Yeah.
But now the creativity is just limitless. People come to the table and they just basically have a blank canvas, and all they need to do are throw in a few elements. And we have a remix of Starstuff that was done by the Gothsicles by Brian Grotner. And it sounds nothing like the original. There's only some vocoded vocals that are in there that give a nod to the lyrics. But it's a great track, and probably even more danceable than the original. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's neat how this all works now. Basically, they're all just tracks, and people can just take them and restack them and put them back together and take them apart, and it's crazy. It's like an art in and of itself, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was telling people that this EP actually is going to have more remixes following it than our actual songs on the EP. So,
that's cool.
I think because there's 6 tracks on the EP, and I think the Starstuff single is going to come out with 7 tracks total on it when all the remixes are in.
Holy
and
cow.
Poison Kiss is looking to have maybe 7 or 8 tracks on it as well.
Wow.
So it's we've also got 1 or 2 B-sides, I guess you could call them, that are going to be on remixes from the Ascent EP for Murder of Love, and also I wanted to get a remix done for Taste, but I don't know if we're going to wind up getting the bandwidth to do that. But definitely there's some other tracks are going to be showcased on the singles as well, but more as B-sides. Speaking of which, Murder of Love, it's a cover song that I discovered from a band called Propaganda back in the 80s. It came out, I want to say it was 1985 originally. And it's a German band, and I just loved the singer's voice. Claudia Brucken is her name. And, they did this song, and I thought it was pretty witty. I mean, it's kind of like a courtroom drama of love where someone's convicted, and that they should plead for mercy because they've killed the love that was between them. And so, it's a little bit cheese, but it's a lot of fun. And I really enjoyed redoing the vocals, and we played a lot with some vocoders in it and just went to town. And it's a good track on Ascent.
Now, you're saying this track, though, was originally a German track?
Not the lyrics. It's a
Okay.
German band, but it was originally recorded in English, yeah.
Because that adds a whole new dimension to this track. If it were translated from German to English, I'm like, oh. All right, well, let's cue this up and take a listen to it here. That's one of those places where it really highlights how you use voice layering to color. That's one of the things I love about, and that's the continuity thing too, Kat, throughout this album with you is that, there's so many of these things about the way you do your production that is so trademark you. And that the layering you do with the vocals to me is just the best there is. It's awesome stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, a couple of people have mentioned that no matter what the style that I record in, the first album was kind of electronica. The second album was a little bit more somber than that, and then we got into some really somber stuff with Void. But basically, they said that regardless of the style, they can always tell that it's a Dissonance track because the vocals are always stacked and layered. But yeah, we showcase the harmony really well in these, and Jim was noting that as well, and he just said, this is a good voice to showcase. Let's take out some of the music and highlight it in places.
That's where I dig it at,
it's a lot. It sounds good. I like it.
Yeah.
It makes what you're listening to give you that amazing mix of organic versus synthetic. To me, it's the perfect drink. It's the perfect cocktail. It's not too much of anything, and it's so rich every other way. And that's what I find that you do is everything you do is taking the listener on a journey. So even though the foundational pieces of this tend to be very synthetic, it's the vocals that bring that beautiful warmth and that organic feel to all of these tracks that make them so relatable.
Makes the music a song.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I love about singing, and it really is a joy for me. And if it can come through that it's something that I enjoy doing, people should be able to feel that. So,
well, there's you can tell that you're in the type of music you're influenced by because of the precise way that you lay your vocal tracks down. It connects, but it connects because of that precision, that razor edge precision that you're able to. I don't want this to go unsaid, is my point here. Okay, I mean, there's there's some, I don't mean to I don't know, bragging about you here or whatever, but I'm really touched by this. And I'm someone that's competed vocally before in my life. You can tell just how much work and blood, sweat, and tears went into the precision of how all this is put together, and especially the vocal stuff.
Yeah, and I'm not a big fan of auto-tune, so I actually don't even know how to use it.
Thank God.
Essentially, I will just record and record and record layers until it's right,
Yeah.
And, thankfully, I've had training and voice lessons, and thankfully it doesn't take me too terribly long to do vocals for a song. I probably, by the end of one song, I've probably laid down about 40 layers of vocals in the span of about 2 hours.
Wow.
And, I go through and I do some editing, but by and large, my pitch is not the problem. My problem is just deciding when to stop. It's a producer's nightmare. They're like, okay, you're a choir of one. Stop already.
No.
I think that's awesome, though.
20 more layers, damn it.
Yeah.
Right.
You stay in
Yeah,
that
let's
booth.
gild the lily.
Now, where does this album fall? Okay, first, we probably should point out the label, because it's Hack Attack, right? Is the label that
Yes.
you're working with on this? Now, so where does this album fall? Is it like synth pop, or where do you think it fits? And sort of, if you had to classify, which someone's going to want to.
Yeah, it's always a hard question for me. People always ask, and it's a natural question to ask, what genre of music do you write? And truth to tell, I always struggle with the answer because when I'm writing, I'm not writing a specific genre. I'm writing emotion. That's kind of how I classify it. It's music for moods. But people would call it dark wave. People have called it electronica. Post pop, I guess you could say, is another label.
EDM, maybe?
I think it would fit into, it could fit into several categories. EDM is a possibility. I've got a couple of remixes that someone told me were electro, and so I'm like, okay, well, that's
I'm not even
awesome.
sure what that is.
Yeah, that's a new one on me.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Sounds cool,
Yeah,
but
very, right.
Sure sounds like a compliment.
There's going to be some, I'll take whatever genre they throw at it. It's fine, as long as they listen to it. That's the main thing. Just thinking of the tracks that we've talked about, one of the ones that we haven't touched on, we touched on a little bit at the beginning, but wanted to talk a little bit more about was Drive.
cool.
That's a very emotional track, the one that we did the video for.
That's my favorite.
It's a song kind of about hopelessness and just kind of being lost in yourself. And I wrote it after a friend of mine, not really a friend, maybe more of just an acquaintance that I had worked with for years, killed himself and his family. I had just gotten the news from a post on Facebook that this person that I knew and had worked with for 15 years had basically shot his wife and child and himself. And it just was stunning and horrifying and senseless. And I had a huge problem with it. And so I wrestled with the feelings and basically came up with, you drive around, think about things,
You're
and sometimes you just drive and you're on autopilot. You're just, because your mind is so busy thinking about what's going on. And, sometimes you have to just go through that process and drive until you feel all right. And I've been doing a lot of that in the last couple of years.
I think the first time I actually talked to you on the phone, you were in a car.
I'm in the car a lot. That's because the car is a great place to listen to your music, to see how it's going to sound.
Yes.
And so that's always the first thing. You listen to it in the studio while you're working on it, and the first thing you do is, let's take it to the car.
Yep.
Absolutely. Let's take it. Now that we've gotten to this point, let's take it to the car and see how it's really going to sound in real life.
And then finally, on the iPhone. Or
that's the litmus test, is the car.
Well, we'll let people get a chance to take a listen to this here real quick. We'll pull this up.
Foot is on the pedal, pedals on the floor, grip as hard as metal, sound is only roar, faster to escape it. Fool to think you can. Better to embrace it as if it were the plan. Driving into nowhere, driving through the night.
There again, the vocal layering used to really set sort of that tonic chord that pulls through the. To me, it's dystopian. It really paints that vivid image of motion, though.
I love the production, and the music is really nice too, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it was kind of a trip hoppy vibe that Chrys and I were working on with that. And he did some really interesting things with the effects and just, with the arrangement also.
Yeah.
Because
creepy.
the structure was different than what I had originally sent him, but it worked out very well. I usually have a problem, usually when I record vocals a certain way, they have to stay that way because that's the way I intended them to sound, But so I've tangled with a couple of people that have tried to rearrange things a few times. But he really tapped into something, and I really like the work that he did. I'm planning on working with him again in the future when I finally have a moment to sit down and do some more music. He's always got a track here or there that he's working on, and he's always asking me, he's like, do you have time? Do you have time to do some vocals? And lately, what with getting this ready, I haven't had a whole lot of time. Plus, selling the things in my parents' house and moving and trying to get their house sold. It's been a process. So, I still am kind of in that hole, but I'm still also really itching to record more. That's the main takeaway that I've gotten from this experience, is that, the one thing that I want to do is vocals. I want to continue to record more vocals. And as a matter of fact, I've had an EP that was released on another label, Shore Dive Records. It's called The Insatiable Disquiet. And my co-writer is Nico Wardell, and he's got his own label, which is Shore Dive, and we do kind of a shoegazy thing with that. So it's another project that I've been spending a lot of time on, and he sent me basically an album's worth of music, and I've got that on my plate, and a couple other singles that I have promised that I would do some vocals for. So I've got my work cut out for me.
It's good, though.
When I finally have time to do it. So I'm very excited about that. And I really am itching to get recording again, because I always find that I feel best. I feel like that emotional outlet. It is a catharsis. It is basically therapy for me. Because, we all have our daily trials and our struggles. I have a little bit of a, depressive bent that I'm usually on. And so, for those that are clinically depressed, it's always good to have an outlet. It's always good to have a way to exercise that demon and to kind of talk back to the voices in your head. And that's what I use it for. That's how I justify my singing.
I'm glad you do sing.
Yeah, thank God. And thank God you're not, one of the things you said earlier was, I don't know how to use auto-tune. And I was like, thank God there's still people like you, Kat, that can still come out here and rip these Band-Aids off and pour your heart into stuff and make people feel things. Because that's what you do for us.
That means a lot. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I can feel everything you're talking about, every single track, every time.
Yep. And
it's amazing stuff. So, okay, so let's talk about this. Where do people find you?
Well, right now we're on Bandcamp. That's where the album did a pre-release. So we did the digital release, and I also actually just yesterday or day before put up a limited run of CDs. So there are some CDs that are available, and Jim Marcus did the artwork for it, and it looks great. So those are both available on bandcamp.com. So it's dissonanceband.bandcamp.com, and the album is called Ascent. And coming up tomorrow, it'll be in wide release on the 26th, and should be available on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, Pandora, you name it, the usual suspects, all of those places.
Nice.
Okay, so we've covered how to get a hold of her. The album's coming out. Let me think. Is there anything else we need to talk about tonight?
Well, the whole auto-tune was originally used for binding oil, so we could use it for that. I'm just saying. We can just take it back to where it's supposed to be.
Eric's back, everybody.
Hello. Sorry.
Good gravy. So we've been cranking here about 50 minutes. This album, folks, you've got to check it out. Kat, is there anything else we need to cover before we wrap up with you here?
Just stay tuned for the remixes that are going to be coming out after the EP. The EP in itself, I think, is perfection, and the remixes are so awesome, so much fun, and there's so many awesome people that are contributing to them. So it's going to be exciting, and there's more to come from Dissonance. So
awesome stuff. Tuned. Can't wait. I can't wait. I'm glad to hear that you're so busy because I can't wait for the next stuff to come out. All right, folks, we're going to wrap that up there then. Kat, thank you so much for, utilizing our platform tonight.
Yes,
I'm blessed, and I'm just honored that you chose to do this with us here tonight. It's two goofy goobers here doing this. But check this out, folks. Go download the album. It's amazing stuff, and you won't be disappointed, I promise you. We'll wrap up there. Check us out, www.noshitcast.com, KNOWSHITCAST.com. There you can find links to where you can consume this wonderful program and all the different places where you get your podcast media. And we'll catch you all next time. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bicycles.
Truly my pleasure. Thank you.